This is infuriating to me because we had gone over this case and things have only got worse, I think, since this originally happened. And what I'm talking about is this Ohio teenager. She is Mackenzie Shirilla, and she's the one who drove her car into a brick wall on purpose with her boyfriend, who she was trying to get back at, and her boyfriend's friend in the car. And now the sentencing has gone down. I'm going to play this for you, but we'll also get into some of the things that she did in this courtroom that I thought were absolutely insane. So here's the judge.
Today is the sentencing of the defendant for the purposeful and intentional murders of Davion Flanagan and Dominic Rousseau. And in a way, it's the second time their families are gathered again to grieve. It's also a day when Mackenzie's family will grieve for the future of their daughter.
Still crying, still looks like a 15-year-old girl, still looks like a child. And Mackenzie Shirilla was arguing with the court about this sentence. And it was one part of it in particular that she was mad about, which we'll get to as the judge continues.
All three of these families and the friends of these families are suffering. And all of their lives have been irrevocably changed because of the actions of the defendant. The unintended and collateral consequences of a selfish, intentional, and cruel decision
She's shaking her
by
head
Mackenzie
no.
will ripple forever in time. It's literally changed history because it's ended two lives. Two young men are dead. Their deaths were horrible, terrifying, and tragic.
So the judge is not pulling any punches here, obviously. The judge does not like her all that much. She's not a huge fan of Mackenzie Shirilla, and she has a couple of options in terms of sentencing.
Unlike some other people that have been, they're like, oh, that Mackenzie Shirilla's got that hot criminal energy.
Right. That's so weird to me. A person who crashes a car into a wall and looks like a little kid, and people are like, she's hot. So one of the things along with the sentence that they pushed for her was she's going to lose her driver's license for the rest of her life. She can never get a driver's license. She can never drive again. And she was so upset about this. She was crying because she was like, I will just give me a little bit of a ban for the driver's license. I want to be able to drive.
The hell you will, man. And on top of it, like, I wish that this was something that she had shown prior to, because this is just sentencing. She's already been convicted, but it's very telling about how remorseful she is.
Right, and they're saying, she's so upset about this. She's so remorseful. Is she really, if she's whining and complaining about this situation being one where she's not going to have her driver's license? She's not going to be able to drive. She knows she's getting out, for God's sake. She knows that she's going to get out eventually, and she wants to be able to drive.
I will say again, if any reasonable person reviews Exhibit 802, there can be no doubt in your mind what happened this night. There can be no doubt of the absolute terror of the two people in that car.
Can't even imagine.
The defendant controlled all the events. She chose the day. Specifically, she chose a day just before her 18th birthday. She chose to drive the car, the time to drive the car.
Damn.
She chose an obscure, previously scouted route through an industrial parkway. She chose the target to hit and the victims. She chose the means and the method to follow through.
So the judge is just laying it all out here. Like, she chose to do all of this. She knew exactly what she was doing. So therefore, you think that we should get something really, really strict in terms of a sentence here.
Yeah, how is she getting out of jail?
Yeah.
This is very premeditated to me.
Yep. Yeah. How is she getting out of jail to even think about driving again with her driver's license? I totally agree on that. How is that even something that's in her mind right now?
Especially after that verbal lashing the judge gave her last week, saying all of the terrible things she did and how it was completely on purpose.
Yeah, and they sentenced her. You'll hear this in just a second. Well, I'll let the judge say.
She planned and purposefully executed the events of July 31st, 2022. The review of the evidence supports the factual findings, the forensic testimony, the testimony of the first responders, the testimony of the emergency room doctors who treated the defendant, the testimony of the coroner's medical examiner, the testimony of those who knew the victims and the defendant, and the testimony of the BMV official who provided evidence that not only did the defendant deny any medical condition when applying for her license, which her mother co-signed and attested to.
That's another frustrating thing about this. This woman's mother was running interference the entire time. The woman's mother said, "Oh, I'm the one who told her to drive that day." The woman's mother said, "Oh, she has this condition that makes her fall asleep while driving." The woman's mom was just over and
She
over
was dizzy.
and
That's
over
what the
again.
mother said at first. She was
Yeah,
dizzy.
She was just dizzy. That's why this happened. Who isn't dizzy and driving their car 100 miles an hour into a brick wall after threatening their very same boyfriend that they were going to do that multiple times? Mom was running cover for this young girl. And I mean, I guess you could say that's what anybody would do in this situation, but it's just kind of disgusting, honestly.
But also that just after the accident, Mackenzie renewed her driver's license and again denied any medical condition.
How was she able to renew her license?
In fact,
Yeah, not only that, most people don't know this little detail here. After she ran this car into a brick wall, killing the other two people, her boyfriend and her boyfriend's friend, she and her mom, once she got out of the hospital, were out looking for jobs. They were trying to get a modeling contract based on this because they started to get some attention.
Wow.
And she wanted to be a model and get a deal with her mom doing modeling gigs. And you go, this person doesn't realize, they don't either don't understand or they don't care about what they've done. They've ended two people's lives. What the hell are we doing
the
here?
defendant was so concerned about driving that, as the state mentioned during the investigation, she asked if they could just suspend her license for 10 years.
Yeah, there it is.
It is hard to fathom how a person could be concerned about their driving privileges, having just been responsible for the deaths of two people. There was no medical condition that caused this as an accident. There was no mechanical failure of the car. The record is clear on the facts and the evidence. Her mother's uncorroborated statements without any medical testimony or records is not persuasive. It is also important to remember that even if Mackenzie intended to also die in this crash, that is irrelevant. A failed suicide attempt is not a defense to murder.
Yeah, so she goes on. Let me see if I can bring this to the last minute of this where the actual sentencing is doled out and we can hear what the resolution of this case was. Here's the sentencing for Mackenzie Shirilla, who did get life in prison.
So she's sentenced on count 2, the murder of Davion Flanagan, 15 years to life.
15 years to
She's
life.
sentenced on count 1, the murder of Dominic Russo, 15 years to life, to be served concurrent to each other with credit for time served.
All right, with credit for time served to be served concurrent with each other, that means it's basically just 1/15 the life sentence. So in her mind, she's thinking, I could get out in 15 years. I want to make sure I can still get my driver's license because I want to be behind the wheel again. What do you think? Is this
Yeah.
enough? That seems like it's not enough to me, considering what happened in this situation. Some of you saying that you think this is fair. I want to know what you think.